things with where am I. And when you do, you probe a lot of this. I mean, the difference between human behavior in terms of direction and animal, insect, that kind of thing, and even the Inuit. But ants seem to be able to find their way no matter what, and yet we have troubles. What is it?
Yeah, well, I've spent many, many years, Bev, trying to understand how all different kinds of animals find their way from one place to another. And this is behaviors ranging from these magnificent transcontinental migrations like monarch butterflies,
right.
And even very simple kind of workaday behaviors like just finding your way home or finding your way to your next meal. And when I began to look at what human beings did, I discovered right away that there were these marked differences, fundamental differences in how we find our way from one place to another compared to the other animals that I'd studied.
Do you think is it we lose the ability that we once had, as in, some people say, well, we had the sixth sense and we didn't use it, so it's gone. Do you think it's that?
I think there is an element of that to it. I think if you look at traditional wayfinding cultures, for example, I talked a bit about this in the book. If you look, for example, at the Inuit or Australian Aborigines, these were people for whom life depended on knowing where you were at all times. Well, obviously, in times past, in those kinds of cultures, there was something that we had that many of us, especially I think people who live in built-up urban settings, lack.
And the Inuit don't need GPS, but we certainly love it.
That's right. We do love our GPS, don't we?
And you probe a little bit of the relationship between the technological advances that we use for sense of direction or for directions.
Yeah.
And not having it at all.
Yeah, I do, and I think that's really interesting. And I think there are different ways of thinking about what GPS is, and how it's used, and whether it's a good thing or it's a bad thing. So, for example, you see from time to time in the media these wonderful photographs of people who believed their GPS at their own expense. So they've driven past the location that they wanted to get to because their GPS said that they weren't there yet. And so then you can argue, well, GPS is maybe not necessarily a good thing. But on the other hand, I think that the wide availability of GPS signals, for example, now on cell phones, has given people a kind of a heightened awareness of their own location. So in a way, technology is in some ways bringing us back full circle to a place where we can appreciate our location using combinations of GPS and mobile technology, mobile computing.
Well, it's a fascinating book, and we've only even talked just a little hint about it, but it's wonderful. Colin Ellard, thank you for coming in and share a bit with us. We'll be right back in Canada.